I met my husband, Johnny from the Gong. So he was actually a client of mine, but we'd been really good friends for about 5 years. I met him on the Sims Metal site, which was like a industrial recycling metal plant site that was highly contaminated. So, lucky our kids turned out all right. But anyway, so we met down on that site just as friends, and I invited his boss to one of our boardroom lunches. And his boss couldn't make it, and he showed up, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I wish the boss had shown up because, we're doing business together, but, he sent the junior along. Anyway, the rest is history. We knew each other for 5 years, hung around each other a lot. Ended up one crazy night, Johnny's really good friend Warwick, he's a quadriplegic, so often Warwick and I would sit down together and have a few drinks whilst other people were mingling at a party. So Warwick and I had had a fair few drinks. By the time I stood up, I definitely had a couple of drinks, and Johnny and I found ourselves kissing that night, and 16 years later, we've been together ever since. My career was going really, really well, met Johnny, literally knew that this was the man for me. Anyone that could put up with my mother, my crazy sisters, my family, I knew that this was going to be a match made in heaven, that's it. Johnny's one of the kindest souls I've ever met. He could control my crazy personality, and it's just, I think in life you meet people that, your soulmates, and you get along exceptionally well, and it's such a cliche, but we're just best friends. And I think that sort of, your perfect match doesn't have to be, fireworks going off. They can sneak up on you, and Johnny certainly did that with me. He snuck up on me, and we were great friends for a long time, and not realising, my sister would say to me, you and Johnny, I'm like, as if, we're just friends. So literally from the time that we kissed to the time that we got married was months. It was probably about 9 months. We bought a house together, which was a fabulous property. And before you knew it, we were married and away on our honeymoon. We got back and my parents were like, so are you pregnant? We're like, no. And they're like, oh, I can't believe it. What's up with you, Johnny? All of the Billinghurst girls, we get pregnant so quickly. So Johnny's feeling really bad about himself. And I'd given him a watch as an engagement present. And the watch said 4 for 2003. And the 4 things were buy a house, get engaged, get married, and fall pregnant. Anyway, I turned to him on New Year's Eve of 2003 and said, you know what, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, not realising that I was pregnant. So that night we go out and we have one of the best New Year's Eves of our life. We go out and we just have this most incredible time. We partied till about 4 in the morning, drinking Red Bull vodkas. So New Year's Day, obviously everything's shut, so there was no chemist open. I wasn't feeling 100%, and my mum said to me, maybe you should get a pregnancy test. Maybe you might be pregnant. I'm like, Mum, I'm just feeling really hungover. Anyway, we went down, the chemist was shut. Next day, I think the chemist was open, bought it. Oh my God, we were pregnant. Could not believe it. And my dad turns around and goes, but how? I was his youngest, his baby. So I'm like, Dad, what do you mean how? I'm pregnant, Anyway, so I did meet my Prince Charming, and we have 3 beautiful kids. But don't get me wrong, I met Johnny at 30 years, before 30. Didn't get married until we were 33, and had Billy at 34. Then I had Nico at 35 and Milana at 38. I remember when I was working at Ritz-Carlton, someone said to me, one of the girls was having a baby, and I think she was late 20s. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she's so old. As if I would ever have kids that old. But for me, I'd had some, Mum always says you've got to kiss a lot of frogs to meet your prince, but I had a lot of princes. I had gone out with some really incredible people, but inside my heart, I always knew that it was never quite right. And I think when you do meet that right person, everyone goes, well, how do you know? And I'm like, well, if you're asking how do you know, that's how you know that it's not right. I think you just know when you know. And I think Johnny and I were really, really lucky. And that's why I think we did get married so quickly. We knew that, yeah, we're not 20 anymore. We have gone out with different people. We really just decided to go for it. And after having Billy, I think I was so blessed. And I just left this incredible career and I took maternity leave. And I knew inside my heart when I left for maternity leave, I could never go back to a job like that. I think it was, you know, with real estate, you really have to give it 100%. With sales, you really have to be on the ball. You've basically got hundreds of bosses. Every client is like your boss. So I knew that if I was about to have a baby, that, you know, going back to that sort of, and I couldn't see a part-time option in there on that basis. I really thought, you know, I kept my pregnancy fairly quiet until I was about 5.5 months pregnant because we had a couple of complications in the beginning and also I didn't want to be judged. If I was leaving work at 5:30, I didn't want someone to turn around and go, oh yeah, she's leaving early because she's pregnant. So I really kept it hidden. I especially kept it hidden from my clients. One client, I said to him, oh, well, I'm going on leave now. And he's like, oh, where are you going on holidays? And I had Billy in August, so I was wearing winter coats and scarves. So it was really, you couldn't really tell I was pregnant. And I sort of opened my jacket and I'm like, oh, because I'm pregnant. He had no idea, he was in shock. So when I went and had Billy, he was just the cutest, most perfect little baby and he slept all day. So I was left with myself and my own thoughts for the first time in my life. And having a new baby isn't exactly easy, and especially a baby that slept all day. So I'm sitting there with all this time on my hands thinking, what am I going to do? So it got to 8 weeks and I was driving myself crazy because I just had way too much time on my hands. I used to get up every morning, get dressed, leave, go down and have breakfast, then go to my sister's and try and occupy my day with this baby that slept all day. So that's when I decided to start my own business, which was Billy Corp, which I ran a very successful commercial industrial agency for 13 years.